Hello, this is Christine Baumgartner with Let's Talk Dating Radio on GoingSolo.com. This is WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio, TV, and podcast #1 internet singles station. And I get to be here with Barry again. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine. It's good to be here.
Oh, great to see your face again. I'm so happy.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation. I love doing this.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm a dating and relationship coach and have been one for 12 years this month. It's my anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And my company is called The Perfect Catch. And my tagline means to be the perfect catch, you have to learn how to be one, and then you'll attract one. And Barry, I would love for you to introduce yourself, please.
Certainly. My name is Barry Selby. I'm a relationship and self-love guide in my work. Most of my folks working with women to help them remember their hearts and really heal their wounds. They can be strong, healthy, happy, and flexible so they can enjoy the relationships they attract.
Yeah, you're all about giving women self-confidence and feeling like their best selves. And isn't that just the best job ever?
It's certainly, well, it is the best job because I love doing it, but sometimes it's challenging because I feel like I'm more, I don't want to say invested, the wrong word, but more desirous of them being happy than sometimes they are for themselves. So
Yes.
I got to be willing to sort of let them lead the way versus me leading them when they don't want to go because they're afraid of it. You know?
Isn't that one of the biggest challenges of being a coach, that we see the potential, we see the blocks, it's so clear to us, and yet we have to go slowly with them. We have to have them see it. We have to have them be ready. We have to have them be willing to look at it because it can be kind of scary, and to be willing to do the work because it's hard. It's hard. It's hard work, and it's so worth it, though. So worth it.
Well, that's the thing is we see that it's like we see the mountaintop on the other side of the valley. We don't see the bottom of the valley.
No,
So the fear factor, because I mean, I've been in this journey, my own personal growth journey for 30 plus years. So like trying to help a client in like 3 months to give them 30 years of practice in that time is a little bit like overwhelmed.
It is. It is. You're so right. Yeah. One of the things that I really look for when somebody calls me is to say, I've had it with what's not happening, what is happening, the people that are showing up, the people that aren't showing up, because that means they're really willing and able to do the work that seems scary and hard.
Yeah. I always make sure that I mean, even in my intake forms, there's always like a question like on a scale from 1 to 10, how committed are you to the journey? Because they might just say, I want to get instant fix. I'm like, I'll give you some quick tips, but if you want to do the real journey, you've got to be willing to commit yourself to the path to get where you want to go. Because when you do get there, you'll be so happy.
Oh, yeah. I asked the very same question.
Yeah.
Because, I think I've said it before, one of the things that people say to me so much is, I really, really want to be in a relationship, and I really, really don't want to date. Like, well, it's kind of the necessary part of getting from here to there. If you want to go from California to New York, you have to come up with a map, and where are you going to stay along the way, and what direction are you going to go, and are there some sites you want to see, and what things do you need to learn in order to, how much gas does your car need, and how much rest do you need? And when I put it that way, they go, oh, and I go, it's the same kind of journey, and this is really important because it's your precious heart.
Exactly, and you really want to spend time making sure that it's like test driving a car. You don't want to really buy a car sight unseen. You want to make sure that it does what you want and how it fits and how you align with it. Same thing in a relationship. You meet somebody that like they may look great on paper or in their dating profile, or when you see them in person, you go, wow, they look so perfect. But then when they open their mouths and tell you stuff, you go, oh my God, what did I do? You need to know
like,
away from it. Yeah, exactly.
We're really far apart. They're not a bad person, but oh my, we're not a bad person. Isn't that so funny?
Yep.
And what you and I know we do really well is, even though this is serious, because it is their practice, try to bring humor to it. Because you have to look at this as some fun. I mean, dating is really supposed to be fun. And some of your growth, if you can have some fun mixed in with, oh, this is so hard, it can make it, you go back for the next bit. Okay, I'm ready for the next helping because it wasn't all awful.
Right. And the thing is also, I mean, it sounds funny to say it now, because I look at my own experience. So my own dating experience in the past, at the time, really, I looked at it as being painful because I didn't get what I expected from it. But I look back with such humor because I go, oh, that was so interesting. Looking back, it's like, I'm so glad that didn't work out the way it did. I didn't work out the way I wanted to, rather. And the thing is like, well, if I'm feeling happy now, why not if we're happy during the process?
Mhm.
In fact, one of my teachers says, like, if you're going to laugh at something in the past, why not enjoy laughing in the moment of it? Because the truth is, it's no different ultimately.
Mm-mm.
So why
Isn't it
stuck with
great
it?
to figure that out? It's so
Yeah,
great to figure that out. Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So the subject today came up because I do a meetup, a virtual meetup
Hmm.
on Monday nights. I've done it now for 4.5 months, maybe.
Hmm.
It's for singles in the Orange County area because of the quarantine, and how could they meet each other during the quarantine? And this was such a nice way for them to meet. And they get to talk about, each person gets a chance to introduce themselves and talk about the kind of things they like to do before the quarantine and how they're getting
Yes.
through it now. And it's been fun over time that now they're starting to go out and do things with their friends. And how can you talk to somebody virtually and get to know them? It's been a really fun. So we talk about do that. And usually there's 10 to 15 people that show up, pretty evenly, men and women, few more women, but for a singles event, it's pretty interesting how evenly the numbers are.
That's good.
And then I always give a lesson. And this time, and then I do throw it open to say, do you all have questions before I bring? I'd much rather something that's really speaking to you right now.
Right.
This was such a fascinating topic, and I'm extra excited that you're going to get to it because I'm curious about what your experience has been. There was a man and a woman that both said their goal for as long as they can see into their future was to casually date.
Hmm.
Interested in a commitment. They weren't interested in a relationship. They just were interested in casually dating. And I was quizzing them a little about, well, how did you come to that thought? And, is it because something happened?
Right. That was my first question. Yeah.
Mhm. And generally they kind of skirted that question, which maybe. And I thought, well, that might be an interesting thing to explore about what could be the reasons. Healthy in our world, the healthy reasons that somebody that's their goal for their foreseeable future. And then what could be some of the things that might be getting in their way? Because I'm going to finish the thought because I let it go around. I called on each person on the screen, as I didn't force anybody, but as they wanted to give an opinion. And then because it's my thing, I get to talk about it.
Right.
And gosh, in my experience, in not just the people I talk to, because of course they're calling me because they're looking for some sort of a ongoing monogamous something. But even just in the people I talk to in my life that are single, high 90% are looking for companionship. If I even just start with that,
Hmm.
somebody to regularly, just them, go to dinner, go to the movies, maybe go away for the weekend, whether it's platonic or not. And then most of them wanted something that went into the future, that had some sort of commitment, that they would be looking out for each other's back, that they would know if the other person didn't call one day. So because that's been my experience, that it's this very high percentage, it was so interesting to have these two people say, not what I want. So I'm so curious if you come across that in your coaching.
Actually, to be honest, I haven't, because most people who seek me out want the real deal. They don't want to be, because if they want casually dating, they won't seek anybody's coaching help because they're just going to casually date. It's like, it's almost like non sequitur. But for me, the question that comes up, so I'm sure same as with you for these two particularly, is yes, as you said, did something happen? But my thing is, from one of my teachers, in fact, Alison Armstrong, who I love when I studied with her, she talks about how dating is really a hunting technique. It's a sorting system. It's really to sort through the multitude of choices we have to find the one we want to be with. So dating as a term has certain connotations depending on who you are. So when you say casual dating, does that mean casual sex? Does that mean casual connection? Does that mean multiple partners? It's like, what does it mean to them? Because a committed relationship, at least the way I talk about it, and you do too, is monogamous, long-term, a partnership between one person and another that has all the wonderful benefits and joys and challenges too. Whereas casual dating has a lot of room for, what's I going to say? I won't say misunderstanding, but certainly for different contextual explaining, because again, casual dating could be something that involves sex, or it doesn't. Could involve seeing different partners. So does it mean you want to be polyamorous? Does it mean you want to just be with somebody socially and not have not any sexual connection? So for me, the question comes up is, what does casual dating really mean?
Mm-hmm. Which is so important in dating, that you talk about, I always talk, there's a manual inside of you, and one of the parts, like the index, is a dictionary, and this is my word and my personal definition for this word.
Yes.
Because you can't assume that everybody is using the same definition for the same word, and that's where so many of the miscommunication and misunderstanding comes from.
Yeah.
So I will go on to say both of those people said they were committed to multiple partners, sex with the majority of them, not 10, but like 2 or 3. And it was fine with them. And I said, okay, no judgment. I mean, I'm fine with, as long as it's 2 consenting adults and both of them are on the same page. I'm good with it. I really don't. If you're happy, I'm happy. It doesn't work for me, but I want to hear why it's working for you. And so I did a little more quizzing, that they were a little more open, because I mean, here they are on this group of people, but these 2 have come a few times. So, and they're not like together, but it wasn't like they were talking to total strangers, even though there was one new person whose eyes.
I'm sure, yes.
I warned in the beginning, you never know where the conversation's going to go. That they did agree the potential for misunderstanding and hurt feelings. Said that makes my heart hurt. That's when my heart starts going, oh, it's so preventable. It's so preventable that if you talk about, this is what I think I want, try it. And I can go even to like you trying on a pair of shoes. And typically when you try a pair of shoes, you walk around the store. Is it comfortable? Do you like how it looks in the mirror? Are you going to ask 3 other people what they think? You know, after you've walked a little while, does it kind of pinch your little toe, or does your heel slide out? That's what you're doing. You're trying it on. Or you've made the commitment to walk outside, because once you've stepped on the floor outside the mall, they're not going to let you give the shoe back, at least not for the full price, unless you're at Nordstrom.
Things I don't know about.
When you're looking, yeah, it's kind of more a girl thing. Because I said, you know, guys go into stores and they go, great pair of shoes. I'm buying 3 pairs. I might buy different colors, but I like the shoe. It feels good on my foot. I don't want to shop anymore. And we're like, oh no, I have to go look at 3 other stores. And I have to ask all these strangers. I do it. I'm a girl. I know this. But I think that's the part they kind of went, oh, talking. I said, because they think they get to bypass those hard conversations when they're having casual. That was what ultimately came out from my question, because I tried to go in the back door because the direct did something happen. They were like,
yeah, they may have had their shields up because of the fact they don't want to be confronted with their challenges. See, it's funny because you something now about shoe stores. Of course, my thing is cars. So I talk about the idea about, you know, it's like if you test drive a car, you decide if you want to buy it or not. Then again, you might rent cars to drive around for a week at a time, so you try different cars all the time. So applying that analogy to relationships and dating, then there's the question of, are you just enjoying the fact you get to be around with somebody new for for a week or 2? Because the thing about driving rental cars is they're all new. So you drive around, give it back, get another one. Drive it back, drive around, get another one. Dating is kind of the same thing. Is that dating means you don't get bored because you're just going to be with somebody who's fresh, so to speak, for a week or 2 till you go, okay, I'm done now because it's getting too deep, maybe, as you were saying. Or I don't want to find any more information. I want to keep it surface, sex, thank you, ma'am, good night, God bless, and everything else. Versus, are you checking that person out on a date, on several dates to get to know, is that person someone you want to spend a long time with? And of course, that's never predictable. You don't know what it's going to be, but at least you want to get to know some of the qualifications, so to speak, of what the other person fits and what you have. And so it really is a difference in some ways, using my analogy of like, are you going to rent cars or are you going to test drive to buy it? Yeah. And that's what dating really can be a choice point of, what do you want to do with it?
And it's such a good thing, because I find it interesting when people will call me and they say, you know, I have an intimacy problem. And I go, really? Is it sex or is it talking?
Right.
Because often people use it so interchangeably, and you and I know these are really different things. And so what I found with them when they were talking, and I told them I was so pleased, and wow, this was such an education else there that they were being so open, that they were also, both of them were using the word interchangeably, that we're having a problem. But they said, well, I like the intimacy part. And I go, really? So you like the sex? Yes. And what do you like about the sex? Well, it's new and it's adventuresome and we're still learning about each other. And wow, we've got all that chemistry and all the oxytocin in your brain. And who doesn't like that? I mean, really.
Of course. Right.
That's why more people keep having babies, even though the kid keeps you up and you have no sex because the kids are here. It's because of that great connection that you have. So I said, well, what does it feel like when you have they want to ask you about your family or your feelings about something, or you even get into now the political discussion and you really are talking about how you personally feel? Because in my world, sex is very intimate, but intimacy really means the into me. I'm letting you see into my heart, into my soul, into who I am. And I want to have the same avenue into you. And if we're just doing this surface thing, I'm not showing you my heart, really. I mean, that you're not safe for that. And I am very clear about that. But it sounds like you're confused about that. And so tell me. And they both were like, oh, yeah. And the woman more, I find I want to do that. But then I find out, oh, then they can't do that. Feeling a little attached because the sex was so good, and now I'm disappointed because I really wanted to have and they said we have all these things in common. We both really like gourmet cooking and dining out, and we have the same political views, and they think that's enough. And then finally when you start hearing, but I have this tender place inside of me and I need you to be gentle with it, or I need you to recognize this, and it's like, oh yeah, that's too much.
It's almost like this place where we know so much about other people by what they post on social media, and then you have the physical chemistry when they get together. But the truth is, you recognize the other person doesn't provide you with any sense of safety. Because intimacy for me, a lot of that is that safety, that space. You said, the open-hearted tenderness, and the ability to yearn for that connection where the other person doesn't provide the reciprocal energy. It can feel pretty shattering to have the experience. And then you're attached to the physical. So you got the physical stuff working great. Sex is great. Connection's great. Wonderful. But the emotional and mental piece the mental piece may be working too. You have the same beliefs, same rules. That's great. But when the emotions don't connect, and it's the heart level, that yearning, that desire for, or yearning to be received, that is missing.
Yeah.
It's the downfall of many relationships. And even committed relationships fall apart because they don't deal with that up front.
No. And I think what happens is we don't know. That's where it starts from.
Yeah.
When it happens, it's like, what just happened? I really thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I'd been careful. I thought I really did look at what was a match for us. And I thought I was okay with casual. And I know that when I was single between my marriages, I did casual really well because I put a guard up. There was no way I was going to fall in love. No, right. This guard had arrows and was ready. If that even happened, it wasn't going to happen. And it was a very conscious thing at that point. But then I knew that when I consciously decided, okay, that was fun, tired of doing that, really want a close relationship. And I removed that guard and I'm still being careful, but I'm making my heart available. I could not have casual sex anymore.
Right.
It was this 180-degree switch, that, because of who I am. And it's made me available to talk to people about, if you're going to do it this way, this is what you have to do. And it was fulfilling in this very limited way, in this lane over here. But when I wanted to switch lanes, I couldn't do that anymore. And I'm wondering, with your female clients that you have, do you come across that very often?
For me, with what's been going with my clients, I'm just scanning through. I know, yes. Okay, let me say it this way. I don't know percentages, but I'm giving you what I've definitely experienced with my clients is a a range of openness to be seen and connected to, from deeply wounded and winning to deeply wounded and protective and all the stuff in between. And also, also a couple of clients where they never experienced that, so they didn't know what was available to them. So it was a total blank slate in a sense. They were like, "Wow, I didn't know it was impossible," because their relationships have been so surface for so many years. They could have passed as dating in a way, but they were relationships because they were committed to each other and monogamous. But the emotional intimacy was never there. So it's definitely a range. And I agree with you, the sense that it is a choice point where you can no longer do like sex for sex sake if you have this desire for an emotional connection. I think I always thought when I was younger that I was wired wrong or differently, because my desire for sexual relationship always included the emotional for me, which is weird for a guy to have, but that's the way I was. I've always been that way.
Very, very unusual, yeah.
But as I've gone through the work,
especially that young age too, for sure.
Yeah, one of the things I've gone through this work over 30, 40 years, I've seen how that was a gift. I just didn't know how to use it at the time. Now I look back and go, wow, if I only knew then what I know now. How that intimacy and the openness and that vulnerability is gold, basically. And so for me, what I value, even when I go out socially or on a date prospecting experience, I want to go there first, the emotional level.
Yeah.
Because I want to see where that person lives.
Uh-huh.
If they're actually at home there, or if they got the place boarded up and there's no way in. Uh-huh. Because then I know if there's a possibility of anything beyond that point. Because the truth is, when I meet somebody, the sexual connection might be there right away, or it might not be. But if I know the emotional connection is there, at least I know there's going to be a connection of friendship. And from there, it can grow. Because that comes back to the thing about dating versus committed. Where does the friendship come in there? What sort of friendship is it? Is it just, again, like, as you said, these two people were kind of attached to the multiple partners, something to play with, have fun with, but no real bonding happening there. And for me, I value, even through people I met virtually, like you and other people, is that having that connection that is beyond just, oh, I know the face. It's like, I feel this person.
Yeah. Such a good point. And I found that both of them were calling it friends with benefits.
Yeah.
And I asked a little bit of question about, well, okay, the thing I've talked about that you have dictionaries inside of us. I'm really curious what the definition of friend, I get the benefit part that you're got that, but tell me more about the friend part. And it was interesting because both the man and the woman talked about how, well, they liked going to the movies together, and they liked going to dinner together, and they liked, going paddleboarding together. And I said, and how does that, on the continuum, if you think of, okay, here's casual and here's really intimate friends, that you talk about your soul, where are they that you're now using this same word? And they were like, oh, I never thought about it like that. And I said, and I'm not telling you need to do anything different. My whole theme is consciously dating. Right. Be thinking about what you're doing. Be thinking about, is this working for me? Is it working for you today? Good. Is it working for you tomorrow? Is it working for you next week? Just keep revisiting, which is what I didn't know I was going to teach it. But when I said, well, gosh, I think I'd really like to be in a committed relationship, ultimately married, I guess I can't do it this way anymore because this was really working to not do that.
Right.
So that was really fun to have them go, oh, well, I'm going to think about what kind of friendship I have with each of the people. And is that satisfying? And do I need something different? And I said, and then just you pick fictional people with that in mind, not just because it's fun to be in bed with them. If you do go out to dinner, what are you going to talk about? And they also talked about, which I thought was so honoring, of the more casual, the more they drank, that it helped numb their feelings. And I was like, wow.
That's telling, yeah.
They must have felt, I said, you must feel so safe saying that. And they go, that I had made them feel really safe and that I wasn't going to disapprove at all. But they hadn't thought about it. When they started thinking about what are the elements that go along with each of the friends that they were having sex with. And I said, just as long as you're consciously doing it, because part of the alcohol is to numb, because you think about, which is another reason why we hop from person to person, because we don't want to think about. We don't want to have our feelings come up. One of the things that I really learned from John Gray, and it's been so fun to watch it play out so much, is that the more close we get, the more intimate we get, the more connected we get, the more that old stuff that we like, oh, I already dealt with that. I pushed that away in a closet with 12 euros and 7 chairs and 47 locks on it. And oh my gosh, it's coming out now for you to heal it.
Right.
So that you can have a more healthy relationship with this person. And because I'm sitting here with my little fractured bones, what I tell people is it's going to be even stronger if you go through it together.
Yeah.
If you do this together. And I truly also believe we call people into our lives that have things that they have an opportunity to heal because of who we are, and we have an opportunity to heal because of who they are. We just have to be daring about it, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, I could I could do about 4-hour teaching on this whole thing about the emotional part of our connection, and the way that the stuff we deal with gets accumulated in one place in a way. So when you do tap into it, you start opening up all sorts of other stuff. And that's a friend of mine's teaching a whole workshop for women, that she's talking about this thing from sexual healing, because she said with her current boyfriend, all this pain came up from her abuse when she was 10 years old. She hadn't dealt with it yet. But because the physicality, and this is the thing I talk about in my work a lot, how the physical is not on its own, it's connected to the emotions and the mental capacity too. So when certain things happen to us physically, the cell level memories will start to trigger emotional and mental history for us to face. And yes, things like alcohol and stuff can numb it out, and you can pretend or suppress it for a while. But if you keep going back to the same place, having the same trigger, then you can at some point look at those and go, it's time to face them and deal with them. And the reality is, I mean, that thankfully, working with them for many years, I've done so much closet clearing, so to speak. There's not very much of anything that's left to be triggered by in these situations. And so I know there's value in it, people who want to face the journey. But some people look and go, that closet is so well packed, I daren't open it, which is why the fear is there, which I understand totally.
And okay, how limiting it is. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if we've lived through the clearing process, because it feels like we're going to die sometimes. It feels really hard. It is. I am completely understanding of my personal journeys and my clients' journeys. When you get to the other side, it's like, wow, the lightness, burden that's gone, the freedom to not have to keep, oh, is it locked? Oh, is it trying to get out? Is it seeping under the door? I mean, you have to do that. And I think what's valuable about what we do, one of the many things is sometimes they don't even know. They don't know what they don't know. They don't even know it's there. They just know there's this, ooh, that feels, but if they feel safe, we can really walk them through it and get them to the other side of, and I'm going to say, if you just really want casual relationships and it's filling you up and it's working for you because your life is full of grandchildren and friends, and you just don't want to make room for an intimate relationship with somebody, and yet you're horny. So, okay, you want to go have dinner and sex with somebody. You want to have, every weekend or a couple times a month. Okay. Do it with that intent and a very conscious, so that you won't get your heart broken. Because that's what I'm always looking for, is how to not get your heart broken over and over and over. So
let me throw another piece on top of that.
Yes, I'm always looking for your pieces because they're so
well, this actually is, I remember listening to a talk by Barbara Angelis, who's actually John Gray's ex-wife.
I know that.
They actually split it before they both did their work. I mean, he did Mars and Venus, she did Making Love Work. Anyway, she was doing a lecture a few years ago. I saw her talking, and she made this point, which was so powerful, is that if you imagine that if the love you have to express is like an ocean, there's a massive amount of beautiful flowing love that's flowing around. When you go through a painful breakup, heartbreak situation that really hurts and wounds you, what happens is it's like you put a sheet of ice, a section of ice over that water, over that ocean, a little bit at a time. And if you go through several heartbreaks, or you start to really avoid dealing with it, the ice starts to spread. So what's happening is you're limiting the ability for your love to be expressed. And if you keep going, eventually it's so rock solid with ice, the love just can't be expressed. So being willing to face your heartbreak, your demons, your upsets, your wounds, with the intention of healing, it clears the ice off the oceans. The ocean is free to move again. So the idea about ability to express love and to be loved, you can say, oh, I've dealt with that, it's fine. It's like time heals all wounds. No, it doesn't. Time numbs all wounds. That's my languaging. I use that term a lot because it requires a willingness to face those tender places with intimacy to actually allow healing to happen so that you're free to love again, because the love you're able to express will be limited by the amount of wounds that you carry on top of it. It's like scar tissue. It's like you're not quite as flexible as you were before. And if you do the work to really loosen up that scar tissue, those wounds, you'll be stuck eventually. We won't be able to love very much. And speaking back to the point you said about you have a full life and everything's great, you don't need a relationship. I always come back to, is that the truth you're telling yourself, or are you doing it to protect something?
Oh, yeah. It's such an important question to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a question I ask all the time.
Surprise, surprise.
And it's a question you ask all the time.
Right.
Because I find it my calling. It's really my calling for me and for my clients to, what is it what would be fulfilling? What is your heart's desire in your life in general and in your romantic life? What is it that's going to make your heart sing, make it feel full, make it feel happy? And let's look at all the things, you have pets and family and friends and interests. And we were born, it's in our DNA generally, to connect and couple up. Really is in our DNA, which is why we keep being driven to do it in our sometimes uneducated, inadequate way, as best as we can. As Maya Angelou said, we do the best that we can until we know better, then we can do better.
Yes.
So my job is not to talk people into anything. It's to help them be really honest about what it is that's going to be fulfilling. Is there this piece that you've been hurt so many times, you're giving up, or you don't think you're good enough and it could ever happen, or everything's been awful, it's going to be still awful, and why would you want to do that again? And those are all very real concerns and fears, and they're not permanent.
Right.
Nothing is permanent. No matter what has happened, you can heal it and have something wonderful. And if you don't do it right now, okay, maybe you'll want to do it later.
Yeah. I mean, I'm my work, I would say, if anything else, is I'm passionate about having more love being expressed on the planet. And so the more that I help my clients and help people around me move out of their resentment, hate, hurt, wounding, distrust, all those different things into loving, then it's a nicer place to live. So selfishly, I'm about having people be more loving around me. So if they're my clients, it's even better because they will learn what I learn too. So it's great.
Because it is all about us,
Yeah, of course.
Our clients get to benefit from it being all about us.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was on a podcast recently, and it was a thing where she was doing kind of a study. So I didn't know what the questions were going to be that she was going to ask. And I love impromptu stuff. It's fine with me. So her first question was, how would you personally make the world a better place? And I thought about it for probably 30 seconds. And I said, doing my work makes people happier generally, and makes them feel more loving, and they give more love out, and they get more love back. And so I feel like I'm this little pebble that's dropped Still Lake, and then all the concentric circles go places I don't know where they are. So I'm kind of like the butterfly. Do I affect Bangkok with my little butterfly wings? I don't know. And I can only do my little spot, and I'm going to do the best I can at my little spot. And the thing that I've loved, that it's like a bonus for me and for them, because I didn't expect this to happen, that when I tell them to just start how they can feel differently about themselves and more positively about themselves, and depending on if it's men or women, to feel more positive about the opposite sex, don't tell anybody what you're doing. And over the next couple of weeks, they'll come back and say, Everybody's wanting to know what I'm doing. Did I change my hair? Did I lose weight? None of that. It's this internal attitude where they're just feeling more positive about themselves, and they're not misunderstanding the opposite sexes. They're like, oh, there's a good, I'm going to sound like Alison Armstrong. There's a good reason.
Right.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
Christine explained. She's on my shoulder going, remember, there's a good reason they do that. It's just because they're not the same sex. They're doing their opposite sex thing. And it's so much fun because they get this confirmation from other people that it's working, that
Right.
they're looking more glowy, more young. They go, you're looking younger. How about that?
Well, that's one of the secret side effects of our work, is that when you start healing the emotional baggage, you start repairing the internal, quote, damage that we've done to ourselves. Our body starts to reflect a more useful energy because there's more aliveness, more light, more joy, more love expressing through us. So yes, we will start looking more attractive because we're actually loving ourselves more. It's very straightforward, really.
It really is, but it sounds very woo-woo, I think.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it does sound kind of out there, but in a sense, for me, it makes perfect sense. Of course, I've done this work long enough to go, yeah, it's totally logical to me.
Yeah.
But the thing about it also is the wonderful thing about this work, as I said, just like helping people be more loving in their lives and be more able to meet other people, is it's those ripples, as you said. Not only does that mean they're better at finding a partner in their relationships, but all their relationships with family members, children, siblings, co-workers, neighbors improves too, because they carry their energy, like you said, differently. So they're seen differently, but also they see other people differently too.
Mm-hmm.
So the ripples start to become, it is like planting seeds that start sprouting everywhere, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they all tell me, gosh, I'm having a better relationship with my dad and my boss and my coworkers that are women. And I go, isn't it magic? It's just kind of fun.
Yeah.
When you change your attitude about yourself to a more positive way, and then you start looking at other people in a more positive way, they start looking differently, and they haven't done anything. It's
right.
all changing.
Well, the other part of that as well is that because as you start to see yourself with those challenges, things you've grown through, and everything else, you start to have more compassion. And when you have more compassion for yourself, you start to see those people out there who you may have been judging because the way they act, you go, maybe they're dealing with some things they haven't faced yet. So you have more compassion for them too. So it does become I mean, I don't use the term, some people get upset by it, but it is a humbling experience. You start to have empathy for other people.
Yeah.
And that becomes magical.
Yeah. Oh, it does feel kind of magical sometimes. I'm very excited every time to listen to their growth and appreciate their growth and be part of their growth. And I get to grow too.
Oh yeah. Every client grows me.
Another bonus, boy. Like, okay, what am I going to learn today?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I get to teach a lot, but oh my gosh, what I get to learn. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love what I get to learn. So, oh my gosh, this time goes so fast with you. And Cece's telling us we need to start wrapping up. Oh,
already? Wow. He does. Yeah.
I know. How did that go so fast? Because you're just such a delight to talk to.
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
It just all keeps flowing. It's a whole concentric circle flowing thing going on here.
It's a nice little dance we have that works together. So I'm loving it too.
Me too. Very much. Excited that we're going to get to talk again next week, and I even have a really juicy subject for that one too.
I'm looking forward to it.
Think about it. So, if you are questioning, do I want a casual relationship? Do I want a committed relationship? How would I ever navigate that? What would I do differently? I just want confirmation that what I'm doing some right things, but what's better? Because nobody's doing everything wrong ever. You can call and contact either Barry or I. So the way that you get a hold of me is my website is www.perfectcatch.com. And at the top of my website is a banner that's what's holding you back from love. You can have a conversation with me for free, and we can just talk about what's going on and what kind of questions you have, what kind of challenges you've been having. You can also sign up for my newsletter that goes out twice a month. Would love to have you get a chance to learn because there's always lessons in it. And then you also could write to me directly. My email is Christine, CHRISTINE, at theperfectcatch.com. You can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram.
Everywhere.
We have to be on all that social media stuff. And please tell people how they could get a hold of you, Mr. Barry.
My pleasure. Yes. Well, you can find me on my website. My name's everywhere on social media. So my site is barryselby.com. At the top of my website, first link says Let's Chat. Click on there and you can sign up for a discovery session with me. You can also get my newsletter, which is on the homepage. You can just sign up for it. There's a free video series you get as part of it. Sidebar, I also just uploaded to my website a 5-part series called Cracking the Codependency Code that I did with a friend of mine. And if you go along the banner, it says Cracking the Codependency Code. You click on that. It's a 5-part series on, they're embedded from YouTube on my website. You can watch them all in about an hour and a half. Enjoy them. They'll help you perhaps re-navigate your own relationships. And on social media, my name is Barry Selby on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. It's Barry. YouTube as well. On Instagram, it's Barry Selby. Sorry, it's the real Barry Selby because they got changed. But pretty much you can find me everywhere.
Yes, well, you're always the real Barry Selby.
Thank you.
I've never seen anything but the real deal.
My pleasure.
I don't know if you know how to not be the real Barry Selby.
Again, all this work, it's really taken away any chance for me to fake it anymore. But lying is not my skill set.
Oh, that's the good news and the good news, right? There's no bad news in that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. And I look forward to chatting with you again next week, I think.
Likewise. Thank you.
And bye-bye. Look forward to talking to all of you next week.